You're listening to the Hella Well with Danielle show, a podcast taking women of color on a journey exploring all things wellness and travel related. We're all about showing you how to put on your oxygen mask first and creating lasting self-care habits that will free you to travel the world and live the life you truly desire, and not one you have to fake loving. I'm your host, Danielle Washington. Now let's buckle up and start this journey. Welcome to the Hello Well with Danielle podcast, your weekly mental vacation from the daily grind for busy women who just need a moment to pause, breathe, and woosah. I'm your host, Danielle Washington, and 20 years ago from this month, I moved to Italy. Didn't know the language, didn't know anyone, and didn't have a lot of money. And I was like, I'm going to move to Italy. And it was one of the most impactful things I've ever done in my life. And I don't talk about it often. So I was like, you know what? Today I am going to talk about my experience in Italy and the lessons that living in Italy has taught me. But before we get started, I'd love for us just to collectively come together and just take one big deep inhale, inhaling through your nose, holding your breath, and let's sigh it all out. I feel like we need to do one more. So let's do one more. So we're going to inhale deeply, hold the breath, and then sigh the breath out of the mouth. Okay, that felt good. I feel like we're now here together on this journey because I'm going to tell you right now, spoiler alert, this is going to be a journey. I moved to Italy, as I was saying before, not knowing anyone. And I don't even know how a person like me who was in victim mode, limited beliefs, self-doubt was in the trash, moved to Italy. Because, honey, everyone was against this trip. My parents were getting my neighbors to come and talk to me, talk her out of going. You're in the middle of your career. I was 29 at the time. I was 29. I was in the middle of my career. I wasn't married. And my parents were like, yo, how do you expect to get ahead in the career force and get married and have a baby if you waste your time in Italy? But I was like, I'm doing this. Even my friends, I love them. I love my friends. My friends were like, girl, that sounds great now, but are you sure? We're so totally supporting you, but are you sure this is what you want to do? And even if the doubt of my friends and family had no strength and power over my will to move to Italy. It wasn't until I was on the plane on my way to Italy 20 years ago from now, thinking what the F, girl? You don't know anyone. You don't know the language. You're not rich. What the blank are you doing? You're literally about to go to another country and you are going to meet up with these people who you've decided to live with, who also don't speak English, and this is your home. It was crazy. I know it was crazy, but that's the first lesson I learned was sometimes you just gotta jump and hope for the best. And that's what I did. I jumped out on faith, hoping for the best, even though once I was on the plane, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? But it all worked out in the end. The next lesson I learned was the freedom of no one knowing who you are. Seriously? There's no one from back in the day is like, oh, she just one of those Washingtons, she from that clan. Or people who say, oh, you're just this way because they have this preconceived ideal of who you are. When I moved to Italy, no one knew who I was. It wasn't like Cheers where everyone knows your name. No one knew my name. No one knew my backstory. I could have been Becky from the Roundaway Girl from Brooklyn. I wasn't. But being able to define yourself for yourself, that right there was something powerful. I never dreamed that was possible. Because I've always had been somewhere where someone knew who I was, or they had this, preconceived notion of what it meant to be Black, what it meant to be from California, what it meant to be all these different things. And so When I moved to Italy and I didn't know anyone, it was a chance to decide, who do I want to be? It was a unique opportunity to decide, how do I want to define myself? Choosing to embody qualities that I wanted to embody. I was like, okay, I want people to see me as a savvy traveler, as I want people to see me as confident, independent. I want people to see me as someone who is adaptable, because that's who internally I knew I was, but I was too afraid back in the States to be that girl. But now I could be that girl because no one can say, oh, BS, that's not who you really are. It gave me the confidence to live my truth. And that's exactly what I did. Granted, it wasn't fully my truth because people didn't see me as an American because I didn't dress the American way. I wasn't wearing the cutoff shorts, the white t-shirt, and some sneakers because it's not stuff I wore in America. I was a girl who wore dresses, and so I stayed with my own fashion sense. So people often thought I was French. I would have like the Jehovah Witnesses coming up to me and speaking French, and I was just like, that's the only time I was like, I spoke in English. Like, no, I don't speak that language. But oftentimes people would come up to me, and I intentionally chose not to speak English when I was there. I would literally try to, speak in broken Italian, like, oh, no English. It just, no, sorry, no English. When people would come talk to me, because I really wanted to immerse myself fully in this new culture that I was experiencing. Italy served as a backdrop for a crucial phase in my life where I learned to start letting go of attachments, start letting go of the shoulds. Like, I should go to the grocery store and buy for the month because that's what we do. We live in this Costco feeling lifestyle. In Italy, I started buying at the market where I had a vendor for cheese, I had a vendor for bread, I had certain vendors for certain particular vegetables. I did things differently. The way I ate was differently. The way they drink coffee, it's like you don't take coffee to go. You drink a small little cup at the bar. You're standing at the bar and then you leave. And it was just learning a different way of life. And it was being open to that different way of life that really kind of shaped who I was. But that art of letting go of expectations of way life should be, expectations of beliefs that I had about how you go about dating, how you go about connecting with people. What does it mean to just live your life? Completely, utterly change. And I've never been the same ever since. In Italy, I learned the art of Dolce Far Niente. Dolce Far Niente means the sweetness of doing nothing. And this concept was so foreign to me because I didn't really get it. I was a person who, I'm a strong Black woman. I need to be doing, need to be productive. Also, I had never not worked before. So always working, and then now going from working for most of my life and working long hours at that to not working at all. It was just like, yo, what do people do with their lives during like the day? Like, what do you do when you don't have a job? That's when I discovered the different trains in Italy. I would take a train. I pick a train based on the fact that it had AC. Because when I was living in Florence, I didn't have I had an apartment that didn't have AC. And so it was hella hot. Like, it was like people were dying hot. And so I would just pick a train. I'm like, oh, this is going to, I don't know, Pisa. No interest really to be in Pisa, but I'm just going to see what this is like. I would just pick the most random city. I'd get on the train and I would go. And what that taught me was just being open to the possibilities. It taught me just to like kind of go where the flow is and see what happens. And I did this with all aspects of my life in Italy, including when I lived with an Italian girl who we had like brick floors, and she was like, oh, well, we need to clean every week. And I'm like, this is interesting. Like, oh, and we need to get on our hands and knees and with a brush and clean the floors. And so I was doing that every week. And I'm like, if this don't feel like Cinderella, I didn't keep that doing that right there was not the thing I kept, as something I brought back with me from Italy. But I tried new foods. I tried boys. I mean, not that I tried boys, because I definitely had tried boys before, but like I was opening myself up to dating Italian men and then what that meant. I was opening myself up to going to different places. I was opening myself to traveling to places I had never been. For me, one of the biggest things that helped me when I was in Italy and learning the language was listening to Italian music. And like, there's this artist named Georgia who I fell in love with. I fell in love with her so much that I moved to Perugia for a month, because it was actually cheaper to move there for a month and live there as under the guise of me going to school there than for me to stay there for a week or two, because there was a big concert going on called the Umbria Jazz Festival. If you've never been there, it's an amazing time to go. But I went to the Umbria Jazz Festival because I wanted to see Georgia. And I remember buying my ticket and being at the concert, waiting for the concert to start, knowing A, I'm the only person who looks like me that's at this concert that I could see from afar. And B, most likely probably one of the only Americans as well. And I was pretty close up, because I was like, to know me is to know if I'm going to a concert that I really love, I'm going to try to be as close as possible that I can afford to be. And so I remember being there, and I had these Italian people next to me, and I'm just sitting there because I'm by myself, because I don't really know anyone. And they were like kind of looking at me like, oh, they probably didn't think I spoke Italian. But when she started singing and I'm singing along to all the words, their look of shock on their face. I was like, don't be surprised, because look, this Black girl here is open to the possibilities that I can learn a language in 2 months, which after taking Spanish, didn't think that was possible. A possibility of just up and moving to another city because I wanted to see a concert. I had completely changed my lifestyle to even the point where I was smoking cigarettes. Not saying that was good, but I was smoking cigarettes, I was drinking coffee, I was eating 3 meals. Wine was with every meal. Of course, there was a preemie with everything, because that was the new lifestyle that I was living, because I was open to, if this is the way they're doing it up in here in Italy, I'm here for it. If they're taking a midday break, I ain't got a job anyway, so we're going to take this midday break. But being open to the possibility said, hey, let's just try this something new. Let's try doing nothing. And I felt so relaxed. I didn't feel stressed. I mean, I felt stressed at first. Don't get it twisted. At first I was. But like, once I kind of got the hang of, oh, this life doesn't have to be hard. Which is the lesson I got from living in Italy is, life can be enjoyable if you live to experience life and actually live it versus working to accumulate things. If Facebook and YouTube existed when I was living in Italy, like, I would be viral right now. Like, the stories I can tell you about my experiences, from almost being sold into a sex trafficking situation to having my phone stolen at the airport on like the conveyor belt, this guy who stalked me for years after I left living in Italy, to me buying the most expensive t-shirt I've ever bought because I really liked this guy. I didn't know how to talk to him. And I was like, he worked at the store, and I was like, okay, this is how I'm going to go about doing this. What Italy taught me about myself is that through the good, the bad, the crazy, and the fun, I'm resilient. The possibilities are endless. I have the ability to do a lot more than I think I can. And more importantly, it taught me that I can choose who I want to be. Who I want to be. I want to be a girl who says echo all the time when I'm thinking to myself, or cazzo, which if you know me, you know I say cazzo all the time. Y'all can look up that word on your own. But there's certain things I say and do, and the way I move, that I've kept from my time in Italy. My time in Italy is like home. It's home to me because it's where I discovered me. It's where I began to start my journey as a butterfly, becoming the person I desire to be, that I always knew I could be, that was just too afraid to try. So I encourage you to find your own Italy experience. You ain't got to go across the country, across the world to get these lessons, to do these things. I'd love to hear from you on places that have taught you major life lessons and how it helped you, shaped you, who you are. Through my travels in Italy, I discovered me. I really encourage you to seek out your own path of self-definition and growth, whether it's travel or not. Get out of that comfort zone. And the possibilities are beyond what you can imagine. I'm living proof of that. Thank you for joining me this week, and I'll talk to you next week. Ciao. Thanks for joining us this week on the Hello Well with Danielle show. Make sure to visit our website, hellowellwithdanielle.com, where you can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music and never miss an episode. Also, you can follow us on social media at Hello Well with Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, and Hello Well Danny on Twitter. And if you like hella love the show and got some good nuggets out of it, know that I'm not too proud to ask for you to please leave a rating or review on iTunes so that we can continue to expand our reach and help other women of color. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao.